The magic just happened, guys. The magic is here. Caleb Williams is your number one overall selection in the 2024 NFL Draft. And at number 9, Rome Odunze is now a Chicago Bear. Guys, if you like the Chicago Bears, if you like this channel, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe button, and the bell to be notified on your way in. This is gigantic. This is one of those big days. I don't even know what to say at this point. Look, we called it. We did call it at Roma Dunze at number 9 as the most likely pick there after Malik Neighbors. And Malik Neighbors came off the board early. We knew Marvin Harrison was not going to be available. So this became the guy. Now, the one concern that we did have was was that number 8 selection with the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons wildly reached way up in the draft to grab Michael Penix Jr. Rasheed Morris apparently just really likes this guy. And we're actually going to talk about this. Kirk Cousins absolutely furious today at what's happening. I am sure in Atlanta signing a 4-year, $180 million contract, knowing that he's going to be there probably a year, maybe 2. Before he is moving on. So probably not going to fulfill his contract in any way. And then that left Dallas Turner on the radar. And if you guys remember back in February, Ryan Poles himself said, if that guy's on there at number 9, we can't pass him up. Well, he passed him up for the guy that he thought was better. So let's take a moment now and let's hear it from Ryan himself.
Good. How you doing? Good. How are you? Good. Thanks. All right. I'll kick it off. I just want to say thank you to my staff. Really successful night, but a lot of countless hours. Travel, go into getting players like this and on our team. Want to thank our coaches for the partnership that we have, the alignment. Really good partnership in terms of getting all the draft prep done and the players lined up on our board, which is great. And then lastly, just want to thank Kevin and George for the resources that they put into this that allow us to do this job at a high level. Really excited. If you told me we would end up with both Caleb and Rome weeks ago, I would have said you were crazy. But there were 2 guys that obviously we were really excited to have. Not only are they really good players, but really good people as well that are going to continue to enhance our locker room and our team moving forward. So I'll open up to questions.
And when did you know that Caleb was going to be the answer for you guys, the direction you're going to go at quarterback?
Yeah, it's kind of 2 parts. Like when you watch the tape, it was easy to see the talent and wanted him on our team. But it was all about going through the process. So once we got through the 30 visit and spent time with him, got him with some of the guys on our team, he kind of felt good about the person, the culture fit. Knew at that point that he was going to help us, and we were ready to go.
You guys had 3 breakout groups: determined, receiver, tackle.
You know who won that competition.
I know now. Right. So I asked you the other day about if you had an opportunity to pick. I don't know where Rome was on your personal board, but I said if you had the opportunity to pick the 3rd receiver or maybe the top edge, top D tackle, how would you kind of go about that process? What made receiver be ultimately the answer for you?
I'd go back one step. It wasn't so much like a specific position group. The players, like I told you the other day, Ian and I sequenced the board out all the way across, and Rome was extremely high on that list. That's why I was nervous that he wasn't going to be there at 9. Our simulations, it was about a 50-50 shot if he was going to be there. But as it started to unfold, Ian had to hold me back from not trying to trade up and do something crazy to get him. But it ended up working out really well.
What was your knowledge on the front end? I'm sorry. What was your knowledge on the front end of the workout?
So he said there was a 50-50 shot that he was going to be available, and they had to hold him back to not trade up to make the move. So all the rumors about Rome Odunze coming, those were all true. And that's why I said earlier, like we're finding that there are some people reliable. And when Rome Odunze became that person, and we really saw that the Bears were leaning into the offense, then that became the next big play. Let's go on.
Got that they had with Rome and Caleb with having DJ came out there.
Yeah, I found out was it 2 days ago that popped out. I thought it was pretty cool. Still at that point, I was nervous that wasn't gonna be able to work out, or we'd have to do something to make that work out. So when I found that out, it was cool, and obviously now that group's worked together, which is good.
Ryan, we talked.
Caleb, you see all the talent. That's obvious. You see what he brings to the table. On your end, how do you make sure that the Bears get this right?
Yeah, it's a great question. One, the infrastructure has to be there, and I think we've done that part to have the talent around our quarterback now. I think the other thing is it's going to be our entire organization is going to have to be on the same page on how we handle this, how we develop Caleb. But I'll also say that I think we have a really good approach with all of the players, and I think that's different than maybe it was in the past. The way that we take it really serious in terms of the development from a nutritional standpoint to performance, to mental skills, to how our coaches teach. Like, I think we've made some really good strides there, but it's going to take everybody, and everyone's got to be on the same page. We got to adjust to strengths and weaknesses that the player has.
Ryan, Caleb said, I asked him a question about the Bears' history of quarterback and how it hasn't gone well. He said he had questions for you guys, and you guys are explain things to him. What were those conversations like?
I think he just kind of wanted to get a feel for everybody in the organization. What were we about in terms of like what's our direction, what's our North Star, how are we going to get there? And I think through our actions we've shown that. And history's the history. Like I'm kind of done talking about it. Like we go back so much all the time, and those days are over. So we're bringing players in here that want to really just change everything up and do things a different way. Obviously, we love our history here, but it hasn't been smooth recently, and it's time to change. So I feel like we got to stop going back all the time.
Ryan, what are the specific aspects of Rome's skill set that he was the number one receiver for you guys and that just really was a pull for you?
Man, I don't know where to start with that guy. First of all, human being, what a great guy. Work ethic, just blue collar on the way he goes about things. But as a receiver, he can line anywhere, inside, outside. You love his ability to finish in contested situations. Plays strong, plays big. Run after catch is very good. He's a punt returner as well. The kid just put time in and got better and better every single year, and he's a winner. Can impact the game at any moment. If you're a quarterback and you're in doubt and you want to just go give a guy an opportunity to go finish, he's your guy. He's done that consistently.
Ryan, after 9, what was the rest of the night like for you guys? Was there any talk of maybe even trying to get back into the first round for a third pick? What was the rest of the night like after the night?
Every year there's like that feeling around like the teens or 20s. You're like, maybe we would get back in, but then you start looking at what it would take, and we would just do damage to ourselves for this year and for next year. We don't have a ton of draft capital this year to even really do that. So we just kind of took it all in, patient, kind of talked about our evaluations, look forward for tomorrow and see how that's going to play out, what positions are going to go, what opportunities we're going to have.
Right, for all that's gone.
Calls for number 9? Were you getting calls for number 9?
Yeah. There's a bunch of calls. We made calls. I think that's just kind of standard practice. Everyone just kind of get a feel for where everybody's at, but nothing like crazy.
Ryan, I know you get a different perspective when you watched Caleb in 2023, but I'm curious whether it was Oklahoma or his Heisman year. Did you happen to catch a game of his, or remember kind of the first time he caught your eye?
I was watching that Texas-Oklahoma game for sure. And it was like, who is this kid? Some of those throws were ridiculous. And then you kind of track players as you go along, and watching Addison, what was it, last year or 2 years ago? You saw the talent.
Right, for all that's gone into this quarterback decision and leading up to this point, well, what's the feeling like for you to be at the finish line and to have Caleb as your quarterback?
Finish line of the process?
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels great. It's a guy that has all the tools, but it's going to take hard work. It's going to take getting into sync with his teammates. There's a long road ahead to develop the places where he needs to develop to win games and bring a championship here. But the beautiful thing is we have the right people here. We have the right teammates. And I feel really good about it.
Ryan, as it turned out, how many quarterbacks in this class were worth starting over with a rookie as opposed to keeping Justin?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
How many quarterbacks in this class were, in your mind, were worth starting over with a rookie as opposed to keeping Justin?
I didn't even get down. Like, I didn't even think that way. It was Caleb, and obviously we watched the other players, but decided on Caleb.
Ryan,
what has that journey been like for you from 2022 to the group you have now, where the group you inherited and then some of the pitfalls along the way to end up with what you have now?
Yeah, I'm pumped. We've done good work. We brought, again, it's one thing to bring talent in, but it's another to bring talent that, like, they're good people. And they're great teammates. I mean, the stuff that these guys have been doing over the last few weeks is incredible, just seeing how close everybody is. But yeah, we were looking today just what the roster looks like, and it's been a journey. I know it hasn't been that many years, but it feels like it's been a lot of years. So we've done good work. But obviously, like I said the other day, we got to win.
Ryan, how would you say Caleb and Shane have hit it off?
Mhm.
And what was his involvement in, obviously it seems like it was an easy decision for you, but specifically he's going to be directing him on what to do.
Yeah, no, it's been really cool to see from going out there in the pro day to hear about some of the Zooms that they've done over the last few weeks, just getting to know each other, to talk ball. So that relationship had to be there, and that was part of our process as well.
Now the first round is over, I'm sure there are some guys that you thought maybe would have went and that they slid out of that first round. You often talk about flexibility. You guys got 2 seconds next year that give you some flexibility to maybe see what's available in terms of moving up tomorrow.
Potentially. We'll see what the numbers look like, and just kind of gauge if that's something we need to do.
Is this
Right.
feeling for you to have just the 4 picks, just having had double-digit picks? I think you had 10 last year, 11 the previous year, and now 4. Does it feel empty at all? Like, I mean, I know that you're happy with what you did in the offseason and what you did with those picks, but it's got to feel strange to only have 4 picks.
With 1 and 9, it doesn't feel that strange. It'll feel strange after the 4th round. Tomorrow, I'll probably just go get a workout or something.
Ron, you said earlier about not wanting to do something crazy and moving up. I mean, when did you get the sense this evening that Rome was going to be there at 9? Were there nerves up there thinking the dominoes were starting to fall the right way for you guys?
Yeah, there was definitely nerves. There was a couple moves ahead of us. And then what we do, our pro staff does a really good job just identifying needs of different teams. Our analytics team puts kind of percentages of where guys can go. So we really tapped into that. And, once we got to like 7, we started feeling pretty good that he might make it.
Right there that made you feel like he was going to fall your way?
There you go. Once the Chargers did not take Rome Odunze, they felt really good about it.
Well, the Atlanta pick, though, I mean, was that what you were expecting it?
No, I'm just happy it worked out that way.
Ryan, how do you project Caleb's intuition for the position? His instinct, like sensing the blitz and manipulating defenses and just kind of willing a team over the finish line. How important is that to you? And how do you project that for a guy like him?
Yeah, the instincts are for any position are so important. We oftentimes look at things that you can coach and you can't coach. And when you have the things you can't coach and we can develop the other parts of it, you feel good about it. So he's got special instincts, awareness, especially in the pocket, to manipulate the pocket, get in and out of the pocket.
Hey guys, make sure you hit the like button, by the way, on the way in.
Space is special. That's his special sauce. And then once we kind of speed things up and start to identify different coverages, and he's got to, there's an adjustment to an NFL offense that he's got to go through as well. So we're really excited to work with the tools that he has.
Right. When you zeroed in on how Caleb operates in the clutch, what kind of stood out to you in big moments?
Yeah, you look for poise, guys that the game kind of slows down for them in those critical moments, that they're capable of, making those special throws when you need them the most, especially down the stretch. That clutch part's really, really, really good. And you need that to win games. For how many close games we have in this league, you got to have guys that can finish, especially in like 2-minute drills and things like that.
What about just how he faced adversity? I know last year wasn't always easy for him.
Yeah, we had conversations about that, and I think it's the best thing that could have happened to him because you're going to have that in the NFL. You're going to have the down weeks, months, and you're going to have to find a way to get through them. You're going to have to tap into the different resources to get through them and get back to playing at a high standard. So I think going through that adversity helped him to continue to really find his edge, but also to recover when things don't go well.
Kind of going back to Jason's question about the journey of the receiver room. Where do you think along your own journey did you learn to kind of flush and move on from mistakes? Sometimes GMs kind of reluctant to acknowledge and then pivot from a mistake. You seem to be much more willing to say, that didn't really work, let's move on.
Yeah. I think I mentioned this before. You all know I played with Matt Ryan, and then he was with the Falcons, and I called him for a question with the roster, and he just was like, the players always know. The locker room always know. So if you're going to tell them to put their egos away or take ownership of things, but then you got someone that's going to hold on to, a certain player longer just because they picked them and they don't want that on their record, the players know. And if you're going to be consistent, not a hypocrite, you need to do it the right way. So that always just kind of was in my head.
But quarterbacks have so much responsibility, on and off the field, right? With your teammates, with the media. What is it about Caleb that makes you think he's going to be able to handle that in this market with this team?
He's highly competitive, and he wants to be great, and he has passion for the game. If you have those, you're going to be fine in whatever environment that you're in. Obviously, through the ups and downs, you're going to have thick skin, and you're going to make some mistakes here or there, and it's just how you recover, and do you learn from it? That's the big thing, and he's a guy that does learn from parts of his journey and parts of those adverse times and recover. So I think it'll be fine.
Seems like he's got like a comfort in his own skin too.
Yeah, he's got a lot of comfort in his own skin, which is good to see. You got to have that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, there you have it. The comments from Ryan Poles about everything that's happened so far. Now, I don't know how emotional you might be. I don't know where you land on this. I'll tell you that for me, this was kind of, let's just call it heartwarming. But this is Caleb Williams' mom talking to Caleb about his life and everything that's happened to him leading up to this point.
We didn't know at the time.
But
hey, Caleb. Hey.
All right, and there you have it. Caleb Williams, message from his mother and his message back to her. So if you didn't get a little tear in your eye right there, something wrong with you, man. Something's not wrong with Caleb Williams. So that leads us to, let's talk some shit about Caleb Williams, and let's talk some shit about Rome Odunze. Let's be the Bill Belichick, if you will, of all of this stuff right now, because goddamn, like Bill Belichick, if you didn't watch it last night, Bill Belichick was just out of his goddamn mind, going nuts over everything that was wrong with Caleb Williams, everything that was wrong with Rome Odunze. Going over the pros and cons. One good play, one bad play, one good play, one bad play. But listen, Mel Kiper gives this analysis and says the Bears have been preparing to draft Williams for months. A thorough vetting of the quarterback supported their belief that the Heisman Trophy winner will be an upgrade at the position and the right fit for the team's culture. General Manager Ryan Poles was hired to break Chicago's cycle of futility and believes the Bears have the pieces in place to develop a franchise quarterback. Nothing reflects that more than trading Justin Fields to Pittsburgh to clear the runway for Williams as he begins his NFL career. Williams is the type of quarterback Poles has been searching for since being part of the Kansas City front office that drafted Patrick Mahomes in 2017. He can make throws with surgical precision and freelance with a unique ability to escape pressure and keep plays alive. He threw 72 touchdowns and 10 interceptions over his last 2 seasons and had a career best 68.6% completion percentage, despite his passing yards taking a dip during his final college season. After 10 wins, the last 2 seasons combined, Chicago is finally in a position to move past the rebuilding phase and into contention. The biggest question available right now is, what are the realistic expectations in the rookie season? The Bears have never drafted a player with the number 1 overall pick, let alone a quarterback who carries the weight of a franchise that hasn't won a playoff game since 2010. Chicago's main objection would be consistent quarterback play, the catalyst behind moving on from Fields and relying on its quarterback to be the reason the team wins games. Williams will undoubtedly experience rookie growing pains, but the level of talent surrounding him means the Bears need to have more wins than losses and position themselves to be a playoff team in 2024. Do they believe that he's going to be that guy? Do they believe that he's going to be that guy? And I'm going to tell you something. From what you saw, and I think Ryan Poles not trying to give anything away. I don't think that he's trying to really reveal anything too much about the process and about what he thought, but there were moments where you saw that devilish Ryan Poles grin where he was talking about either Caleb Williams or Rome Odunze and how he went about the process and what he thought of the process. And you can tell that the conviction of Ryan Poles is that he's pulled off a miracle for Chicago, that we've upgraded the quarterback position. And by the way, when I say that, there's no disrespect to Justin Fields. If Caleb Williams is just a lateral move to Justin Fields, if that's all that this is still an elite Chicago Bears team. If it is just a sideways move, then that's going to save the Bears millions upon millions of dollars in payroll over the next 4 years. Justin Fields was only $6 million this year. Caleb Williams is going to clock in at about $9 million based on the salary cap. So that's $3 million more. However, next year to keep and hold on to Justin Fields would have been a minimum $27 million. 27.3 right now is the estimate for taking that 5th-year option on Justin Fields. But then after that, you're going to have to pay him $40 to $50 million to stay. So you're talking about $100 million or close to $100 million that it would cost you in order to hold on to Justin Fields, whereby in that same period of time, it's going to cost you about $27 million for Caleb Williams. And then when you add that up and you take that $80 million, who can you surround Caleb Williams with talent-wise when you don't have to pay that much money for that quarterback position? This is the new normal in the NFL. Bring in a rookie or a young quarterback, allow him to grow and take your team wherever it's going to go based on the talent around that player. You want a guy who makes sound decisions, who makes logical decisions, who can do all of the things that you need from a quarterback, analyze the play, move around in the pocket, and Caleb Williams fits the bill for every single piece of that. So I think that congratulations to the Chicago Bears. Congratulations to us fans. But now let's talk about Rome Odunze. That's the guy that, there's questions right here about how good this is as a move. There are real questions. Could he be the best player? Could he be the best wide receiver? Now, I'm still going to say that I really think that Marvin Harrison Jr. was that guy. But here's the thing: the longer you look at the stats, the more you look at the comparisons between Marvin Harrison, Rome Odunze, and even Malik Neighbors. The more you look at those, the more Rome Odunze stands out. The more and look, the reason for that, there's a reason for that. First of all, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the son of an NFL Hall of Famer and legend. And when you look at that, he's already got the pedigree and he's lived up to his pedigree. So by proxy, we're all looking at Marvin Harrison Jr. and we're giving him an upgrade in whatever ranking that we think that he's got. We're looking at him, but we're missing some of Malik Neighbors and Rome Odunze when we do that, right? So Putting Williams in the best possible position means surrounding him with top-tier talent. The Bears did that last month when they traded for wide receiver Keenan Allen and signed running back DeAndre Swift in free agency. Now 8 picks after making Williams its future. And by the way, if you haven't already, please consider hitting that like button. It certainly helps push me up in the algorithm, makes these videos continue to trend throughout the day, and it helps me out tremendously. Chicago adds one of the best receivers in the draft and can boast one of the league's best receiving trios. That's the important part. Now, we have a receiving trio with Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, and DJ Moore. In 2023, the Biletnikoff Award finalists led the nation with 21 receptions of passes thrown 20-plus yards downfield and was the go-to deep ball threat for Michael Penix, who went 1 pick earlier. Given that he's already been catching passes from Williams in the weeks leading up to the draft, Odunze appears to be off to a fast start in building chemistry with Caleb Williams, which should help him become a vertical threat in this offense. Now, the biggest question is, will the Bears boast a top 10 offense? It's not too early to start wondering whether the 27th ranked passing offense from a year ago can become one of the best in 2024. With this much talent in the receiver room, coupled with how the Bears plan to use tight ends Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett, Caleb Williams is walking into a situation where he has capable passers at every turn, and we don't really see a downside to Rome Odunze. So this is the moment that I think, listen, guys, I want to say, I think it's the moment that you've been waiting for. This is the moment where the fortune, the positivity, this is the moment where everything has changed for the Chicago Bears. This is the moment where we now have that franchise quarterback. Look, we already thought we had a franchise quarterback. And again, there's no disrespect to Justin Fields, but now we have that guy that has the talent around him to succeed. And we can litigate forever the fact that Justin Fields was not given what he needed to succeed. And it would be fair to say that, but a team is built a certain way. And Justin got put into an unfortunate situation, but that situation has now been repaired, if you will, and fixed. We now have DeAndre Swift, a guy who can run for 1,100 yards, but who can also catch 50 or more passes out of the backfield. We've got Cole Kmet, who really came into his own right before he signed that big contract extension, which wasn't a massive contract extension, just a very nice one, and favored the Chicago Bears tremendously for his position. Before the Chicago Bears were able to get a magnificent haul out of the Carolina Panthers, which now includes DJ Moore, which now includes Darnell Wright, which now includes Caleb Williams, which now includes, this is one of the biggest draft steals of all time. Before they were able to pick up Montez Sweat, before they were able to make a trade for Keenan Allen, before they were able to pick up Gerald Everett. So now here we are. This team has gone from struggling to potentially dynamic. Now, the question, of course, is what would you like? I don't know. I hear it. I hear it different. Odunze. There's a couple of different ways that you can say his name. And I guess, as we kind of get used to it, we'll see what it is. But I keep hearing people say Odunze, so I'm trying to do it that way. I think Odunze is probably right, but I don't know. Odunze, maybe Smith. I mean, if we're playing, you have no idea. But I'm sure he will have enough interviews where we'll make sure that we're pronouncing his name correctly, and I'll get it right going forward and in the future. Just maybe I don't have it right now. However, you do have to consider that this guy had some defining statistics. So 1,569 yards passing. I want to say he had 89 receptions, 14 touchdowns. I mean, the guy just absolutely soared in an offense that was made for him. Now, if he's made for this offense again, this is going to be an incredible run. Again, guys, if you haven't already, the only thing here that I ask of you, when you come in, hit the like button. That helps push me up in the algorithm, and then helps this video trend during the course of the day. Helps me out tremendously. Now, let's move on to, we're going to get into something just absolutely crazy here, and that is Kirk Cousins. The era of Kirk Cousins is already over, and he just signed his contract with the Atlanta Falcons. At the 8th pick, This is a very interesting time for Kirk Cousins. He leaves the Minnesota Vikings, who move up in the draft and take J.J. McCarthy to replace him. And he goes to the Atlanta Falcons, who at the 8th selection, while expected to take Dallas Turner or a defender to help, reaches down in the draft tremendously to take Michael Penix Jr. Kirk Cousins signed a $180 million 4-year contract to quarterback the Atlanta Falcons, and he will no longer be there past 2026 at this point. You didn't bring in Michael Penix Jr. at a rate of $5 or $6 million in order to have him sit on the sidelines for a while. Michael Penix is a great prospect and one of the top quarterbacks in the draft, but why did the Falcons take him at the number 8 position after they just paid Kirk Cousins $180 million over 4 seasons with a no trade clause? Are the Falcons really going to move on from Cousins before the conclusion of the deal? The answer is yes. Atlanta didn't draft a quarterback in the top 10 because the Falcons are going to sit on him for 4 years. The Falcons can save $32.5 million in cap space by cutting Cousins in 2026 and handing the reins over to Michael Penix. So that's what you're probably going to see. And then the Vikings, they traded up to get J.J. McCarthy, who was the 5th quarterback taken, by the way, at number 10. 5 quarterbacks going in the first 10 picks. It's a massive win for a franchise that once thought it would have to trade up into the top 5 to get their quarterback. And now the Vikings, and by the way, we're going to eat this. J.J. McCarthy, you are toast. We are going to eat your ass up. You have no shot. Montez Sweat is going to imprint himself in your psyche. Gervon Dexter is going to annihilate you twice in this coming season. You got no shot, buddy. You got no shot. This is the Chicago Bears' time right now. However, I will say this. With a move from Kirk Cousins to J.J. McCarthy, I think the Minnesota Vikings are probably a better team. Of course, they will have rookie problems and stuff like that. They will have some problems, but you got Justin Jefferson, you got Jordan Addison. Like, it's going to be difficult right now. We're going to have to rock his cage a couple of times in order to make sure that we're on the right side of it. So now let's take, this is the final draft results, and then we're going to close this out with something a little bit more. We don't have a draft anymore. We don't have to worry about the draft. So Caleb Williams, number 1, Jaden Daniels, number 2, Drake May, number 3, Marvin Harrison, number 4. Would have loved to have seen a move up to get Marvin Harrison, but again, I just don't have a problem in the world with Marvin, with Rome Odunze. Joe Alt taking it number 5, Malik Neighbors at number 6, JC Latham coming in at number 7, hopping over a few other tackles in that regard. And then Michael Penix Jr., the surprise of the first round. Rome Odunze. Then we have J.J. McCarthy as the Vikings move up to number 10. Then you have the Jets taking Olu Fashanu, the Broncos reaching and taking Bo Nix at number 12. Man, John Elway really has a type, guys. Does he have a type? Bo Nix, Tim Tebow, Russell Wilson. He loves those scrambling guys because he was, of course, a scrambler himself. He loves those guys that can tuck the ball and run. He really does. Then we have Brock Bowers at number 13. Now, I don't like the Raiders getting Brock Bowers, but hey, 6'3", 243. You might even say, despite all of his talent, he might even be a little undersized in the current NFL. Gerald Everett, Cole Kmet, both bigger guys. So maybe, just maybe, not so bad. But that's me kind of trying to put a shine on it. Talise Fuaga goes to the Saints at number 14. Latu for the Indianapolis Colts. Indianapolis Colts reportedly were trying to move up, of course, for Marvin Harrison, but could not make a deal. Byron Murphy ends up going to the Seattle Seahawks, so I guess we'll pick him up in a year or two. Dallas Turner goes to the Minnesota Vikings, who reached for a second pick in that first round. Then you have Amarius Mims going to the Bengals. The LA Rams get Jared Verse. Troy Fatanu ends up with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Chop Robinson ends up going to the Miami Dolphins. Quinyon Mitchell to the Philadelphia Eagles. Brian Thomas going to the Jags. Terrion Arnold going to the Detroit Lions, who traded up in order to get him. And by the way, since the NFL draft was held in Detroit, they were super excited. Then Green Bay picks up Jordan Morgan. The number 1 center in the draft, Graham Barton, ends up going at number 26 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Number 27, Darius Robinson. Xavier Worthy going to the Kansas City Chiefs. By the way, remember, Xavier Worthy, 6'1", 170 pounds, probably not built for the NFL, but if there's any place where Xavier Worthy is going to thrive, it's going to be Kansas City. And then you have the Dallas Cowboys taking Tyler Guyton, the Baltimore Ravens taking Nate Wiggins, Ricky Pearl going to San Francisco. They're loading up again. And then Xavier Legette going to the Carolina Panthers at number 32. And now you have the full draft. And then to close this out, I just wanted to show you guys a real quick take here. This was Caleb, and this was what Caleb was doing as he came on stage. So we're going to pop this up on the big screen. This is the level of excitement that Caleb Williams was going through as he was being drafted first overall by the Chicago Bears. So there we go. He was super excited. This guy has found his home, I think. I want to say that it looks like Caleb Williams just incredibly excited. That's a type of enthusiasm that, look, is his enthusiasm for the Chicago Bears? Probably not. It's probably because he's the first draft pick. It's probably because mission accomplished. His life goal was this moment. He achieved his life goal. So, perhaps this is just him having that celebration. And then the fact that he feels like, secondarily speaking, that he has a group of guys, a team, if you will, totally behind him, that totally believe in him, that think that this team is going to get only better because he's involved and because they put in all the effort and all the work into their relationship with him. They've done all the right things. By that, I mean the Chicago Bears. Then you have this level of excitement for Caleb Williams. And by the way, there are yes, as a matter of fact, his head is shaped like the Chicago Bears logo. Ears are a little bit, the ears would have to be up a little bit more. But one of the things that he pointed out, he doesn't care about his hair. He doesn't care about his, he's not looking here to make everybody think, oh, I'm so pretty. So he didn't go out and get a fade. He didn't go out and do, he didn't go out and put any kind of weird work in to make himself look pretty. He came out, he put on a navy blue suit because he knew where he was going. And as a matter of fact, if you didn't look at it, by the way, there is a video out there that I don't have access to right now, but there is a video of him being interviewed. And they were like, what do you think? And he was like, well, here, let me take my jacket off. He takes his jacket off and he turns around and he's got Chicago all over the back of his shirt. Like, he knew where he was going. He knew what was happening. So there we go. And if he got his nails done, I don't know. I don't know. I assume that he did, but I think he just does that. Like, at this point, I'm 100% sure he just does that because he doesn't care what you think or I think or anybody else thinks. He's going to do what he's going to do, and it has nothing to do with his ability. Everything that he does on the field is a testament of his ability. So, I don't put too much into it. But there he is, your number one guy. Now, we already did the X. Here is, by the way, the defensive roster finalized. This is what we're going to look like next year, unless there's a big change. Now, the one big change potentially, and I'm not even sure that that's going to be for a starting position, by the way, but DeMarcus Walker. There is rumors, there is talk, there is some communication that potentially Yannick Ngakoue may be coming back on a veteran minimum. I don't know for sure whether or not Yannick Ngakoue is coming back or not. Again, this guy's had 8.5 sacks every season of his career until last year, where he didn't make it through most of the season, ended up injured, ACL maybe, definitely broke his ankle or something like that. Didn't do well. So Maybe you bring him back and you run it back one more time and you give him that nod for edge rusher position. That's what you consider to be potential for him. Other than that, seems like we're really kind of locked in right here, provided there's no wild, crazy sort of thing out here that's gonna hit us. And then, we made this a couple days ago. I told you guys I had locked it in. I had already made the decision that Williams and Odunze was coming to Chicago. So in the event that you didn't notice before, now you notice. We have 12 men on the field, but it doesn't matter. One of these guys is going to sit at some point. Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett, or Williams and Odunze is not going to be in the lineup for one play or another. We're going to be moving around. You're going to see a lot of movement on this team. You're going to see a lot of 2 tight end sets. You're going to see no no backs on a lot of these. Now, imagine, if you will, guys, name a better. Look at this potentially. Okay, name a better trio of wide receivers. Name a better tight end combination. Name a better combination of receivers on a team. This really, what we've done is we've changed the dynamic of the Chicago Bears dramatically in one season. Now we have one of the biggest and hottest receivers in all of football. We have one of the greatest possession receivers of the modern football era. We have a dynamic player, a dynamic wide receiver in DJ Moore. We have incredible tight ends. We've got a running back who can catch 50 passes, could catch 70 passes out of the backfield if it were necessary. This is a team. This is a fantastic team, guys. The question, obviously, the question is, what about this offensive line? Can this offensive line hold up? Can they do what it is that they need to do? So let's do a quick comparison here. There was a comparison here. 2.7 seconds is the time to throw for Caleb Williams versus 3.23 seconds for Justin Fields. So in that context, Caleb Williams is capable of making faster reads, faster throws, and hopefully that's going to translate to the NFL. And that, by proxy, by the way, I want to stress here, that makes the offensive line better. The problem with the offensive line, in that there were more than just a single problem. The problem with the offensive line did start a bit with Justin Fields. Justin Fields was not getting his reads off quickly. He was not throwing receivers open. He was throwing to open receivers. And there is a big difference between throwing receivers open and throwing to open receivers. So this is potentially, this is going to be a much better team, a much improved team, at least in my estimation. The question is, how bad, how much struggle will there be? How much growing pain is Caleb Williams going to end up going through? That's going to be the question that we're going to have answered over the next bunch of days. We're going to have OTAs coming. We're going to see something pretty soon. White Ghost says, Poles should draft O-line help in the 4th. It's some great defensive ends that are sleepers to me. We can snag in the 3rd. So the most likely prospect that comes up in that range, and is in fact, let me see if we can do this. I don't know if it's still available. So we're going to run it right now, and we're going to see what happens here as we get into it, because it hasn't been updated, of course. But let's boom, 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 boom. Okay, so yes, this is so we want to look at who's going to be available. We want to look at like who would be available, and we're taking the Chicago Bears. So boom, 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 boom. Around number 75. Okay. And I just skipped forward because the first round is over. So we're gonna share screen here. You guys can see kind of what we're doing here. So this is what's available. We're gonna reject this trade offer here. So the question is one of defense. What is available at the number 75 spot? What's available is Chris Jenkins at defensive tackle, Braden Fisk at defensive tackle. Getting down into this range, you do not have a viable edge rusher coming in until you get to Austin Booker at the number 101 selection. And I don't think that you reach down and grab an Austin Booker at number 101 when you have Jalix Hunt kind of sitting out there at the 122 position. You now don't need so on the offensive standpoint, you got Jonathan Brooks, Jalen McMillan, you've got Will Shipley, you've got some options. Cedric Van Pran Granger, to me, seems like the guy at number 75. It doesn't look like a defensive player comes into play until you get to this level. So in this context, let's say we're going to take Cedric Van Pran Granger out of Georgia, and then that leaves us to number 122. So when we get to number 122, then the question becomes who's available at that level. Now that changes things. Now you obviously everybody wants to hear Jamari Thrash. You know what I mean? Of course, we all want a Louisville player because you need to have one on your roster, right? Not really. Anyway, so by the way, Jesus Christ, somebody took Jalix Hunt already. God damn it. Yeah, so as far as defenders go, now we have Mekhi Wingo, defensive tackle. Javon Solomon out of Detroit, out of Troy, becomes the potential edge rusher. These are the edge rushers that would be available at this spot. Javon Solomon, Jonah Ellis, Cedric Johnson, Xavier Thomas, Zion Tupelo Fatois, Muhammad Kamara, Brennan Jackson, Miles Cole, Eric Watts, Sundiata Anderson. So, we're going down the list here. We're getting kind of deep in the weeds to find a player that would, kind of represent what we're looking for. So I don't think that I don't know that we're going to be doing this. I don't know that we're looking in that category. I think right here, Cade Stover available at number 122. I think we're going to look purely offense for 3 of these 4 picks. So because a lot of this doesn't make any sense. So and if I'm going to reach for an offensive player, then I want Ike Garendo, again, running back from Louisville, or I want Luke McCaffrey, wide receiver out of Rice. But I feel like I think Tyler Scott is even going to be better than he was last year by virtue of having a better quarterback throwing to him. Again, I say that and I always feel like I'm offending Justin Fields. I don't know Justin Fields, so I don't know why I'm worried about offending him, but I think he was a good player. So, but still, if I could get anybody, and by the way, if you don't believe me, go look at Isaac Garendo's Tale of the Tape on YouTube. Jesus Christ, this guy is fantastic. Luke McCaffrey, just because I think, what if we could pull in Luke McCaffrey and get his brother to play with him? You know what I mean? Like so you never know. Anyway, so this is the roster. This is what we've got to deal with. I don't think the defensive roster changes at all, other than bringing in Yannick Ngakoue, perhaps on a good contract at a minimum. By the way, we're not going to see any free agency signings most probably until after the draft. So we got a couple days before we see anything happening there. So I really feel like this team is just on the right path. I think whatever the Chicago Bears were before, that's not us now. This is a different team. It's a different regime. This is a more positive outcome. I think the fact that we have Caleb Williams here is going to be a testament to the future of this franchise. By the way, we do have the new Bears thing up there on the top. So I was working with a new camera today. I had to change my cameras and didn't have that up there. But and by the way, if you're punk rock fans, figure out which bands it is and let me know what your favorite band is. By the way, my favorite band right there. If you don't know who that is, something wrong with you. It's the Descendants. So yeah, White Ghost is correct here. He says that safe to say DeMarcus Walker will be edge too. And again, I think that we did a few things that we undersold DeMarcus Walker towards the end of the season. He had a pretty nice run towards the end of the season. So maybe and perhaps he's just a better player overall than I've given him credit for or than he's been given credit for. So, perhaps we're in good hands. I don't know We're going to have to see how the season plays out. We're going to see how the team responds to the coaching. That's going to be a big thing as well. So, but we don't know until we see it happen. So that's it for today. Thank you guys so much. Have a good weekend. We're going to put out some content. We're going to put out some Caleb Williams centric stuff and some Rome Odunze stuff. And we're going to look at who's coming up in the draft. We're not going to go live for the 3rd and 4th rounds of the draft. We just be sitting here forever. We'll do a draft analysis over the weekend. So bear down, guys. It is about to get absolutely crazy for the Chicago Bears. I hope that you're enthused. I hope that you're excited. I hope that you saw the plans for the new stadium, and I hope that you get super excited about all of that. If you would, please, by the way, though, if you enjoyed this content, make sure you hit that like button on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell to be notified of future content. I go live every day at 10:30 a.m. Monday through Friday, and then we put out content over the week. So, guys, have a good day, and we'll talk to you again very, very soon. And bear down.